I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome each of you here. We're all here for one purpose. Mr. Dave Hegarty and also Amy Hegarty, who's retiring with us. For y'all that haven't got around to meet the family's on the front row. Please take an opportunity sometime during this to stop and say hi and welcome them. And we certainly want to wish Dave a wealthy and a safe and a healthy retirement. I am standing in for the good Reverend Elliott, and I have not a prayer on me, but again, would like to thank each one of you here. I have a couple of presentations that we would like to give to Dave. Won't have him come up just yet to try to make this as comfortable as possible. I know Dave's not a colorful person. He usually stays in the background, but the bottom line, Dave is the person that gets the job done. Mr. Barry Warden is with us this morning, and I'd like for him to come and make one presentation, and I'll be making one more after that.
Thank you, Gerard. Gerard told me this was going to be a Dave Hegarty roast, and I said, oh boy, I can hardly wait. I said, I think I remember Dave a few years ago when he first came on board. It was over at a facility that had carpeted walls, and I wasn't so sure that that was for the noise or to keep sanity amongst our crew as they bounced off those walls. But we've made great progress over the last few years in dispatch since those days. I see some smiles from people who remember that type of environment. Dave sat in there one day, and I remember Deb said, he made the same statement to me that he did her, that he didn't think he would ever see a new computer system before he retired. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we are in the process of putting in a new one. And I know Dave hates to go. I mean, he just can't hardly wait to get out of there because of the missing out on that. But he and I both have been counting days. We both, the last couple of years have been counting these retirement days ever since we knew that we were eligible to get there and the city set some standards that we could get to. And I really want to say that Dave is truly a remarkable individual. He came into an environment that was predominantly female. He came in with the ability to provide leadership and whatnot that was definitely needed in many type situations. Sometimes he was the calming effect, and sometimes the other people were the calming effect for Dave. And I see his family laughing. They probably relate to some of those comments. But I can assure you, he has been a tremendous asset to the city of Arlington, as well as to the dispatch services program. And it's been a tremendous pleasure of mine to have known Dave Hegarty. And on behalf of the dispatch services personnel, I would like to, at this time, present Dave with a momentum of this particular event. You'll come forward, Dave. Okay, this is I guess it's a plaque. It's a glass piece that says, "To David Hegarty, in recognition and appreciation for your 19.5 years of service, dedication, teamwork, and friendship to all of us." It's dated June 6th of 1977, that's only a couple of moons ago, through January of 1997. And on behalf of all of the members of the Dispatch Services crew, I'd like to present this to you and say congratulations and thank you very much.
Stay for just a second, Dave. Just a few comments about quickly their profession. Very seldom do you ever see anyone retire in this profession. It's a eat your lunch profession. You get a lot of burnout in this job, and I've seen officers that at one time were dispatchers and see a lot of head shaking. You know what they're going through, and there's a lot to this job, and it's our job to try to keep our employees from taking all this home. Dave had a way to handle stress different than most people.
Thank you very much, Dave.
When I'd come to work in the morning, I'd walk across, and I guess I really thought a long time that Dave was really a deeply religious person. He was always behind the console going, I figured he's praising the Lord for something. And then every break that he took, he would go in, and it's just like routine. He goes in, he turns on CNN, and he sits down, and he prays for 20 minutes. For our country, I'm sure. But we've talked to a lot of employees that's known that Dave's a heck of a lot longer than I've known him, and there's a lot of deep appreciation there. There's a lot to a person that can stay with this job this long, and we are truly going to miss you, Dave, and you mean a lot to everyone in this room, and we're going to miss you. But keep coming back. Drop in, and you can every now and then just give us one of these. Let me say one other thing. Typing was not Dave's best asset. Matter of fact, I think if Dave hired in today, he probably wouldn't get the job because we don't allow this with these two fingers. But the only reason that Dave kept his job was because he had it up here, and he didn't have to think about the typing part. He already had this part up here. And a new part, people will come in, they can't do this and this too. But he had this up here. But we was looking back over a period of years and tried to extrapolate out some numbers. And we figured probably over the 19 some odd years, Dave probably dispatched something like 310,000 police calls. And if you put just an average keystroke on that, that's about a little over 3 million keystrokes. Now that's 1.5 million for one finger. Okay? So we got Dave's fingers. There's a Distinguished Service Award from the City of Arlington Dispatch Services. Awards this certificate to David A. Hegarty for dedicated and long-standing contribution to our profession. We truly appreciate you, Dave. One more quick presentation from Amy and Jimmy. Yeah.
Sit down, Dave. This might be long.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that when I first came to work here for the City of Arlington, Dave was my trainer, and he was just an exceptional trainer. Taught me everything I could possibly need to know about doing my first job. I was highly impressed with the man, and he had a keen sense of humor, even though he's very straight-laced at times. And this one particular day, I was working down in the jail. I had relieved him, and before he got out the door, he said, "Jimmy, just a little tip here. Watch out for the man's friend back at the drunk tank." And kind of snickered and went out the door. Of course, I knew I was in trouble because you don't see Dave snicker too often. But anyway, I went back, and I was serving up my usual dinner, the chicken pot pies, and going around the cells, and there was one gentleman in there, looked like he was asleep in the drunk tank, kind of had his head down, and I slid his pot pie into the door and went about my business and came back down the hall, and I heard this gentleman in there carrying on a conversation with someone. And I thought, is there two people in there? Well, I must have overlooked it because I could hear two different distinct voices coming out of the jail as I walked past, and as I looked in there, the gentleman had his pot pie sitting in front of him with a plastic spoon stuck in it, and he was talking to it like it was an individual sitting there. And anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting because he later on, I don't know if he was sobered up or not, or that was just his true identity, but he came out and we let it go. But anyway, anytime Dave warns you about somebody, best be careful. Later, this is now I'm Dave's supervisor, which is highly ironic because he taught me how to get into this business, and I felt like I haven't taught him near enough, but I've learned a lot working under him, even as a supervisor. We have a saying at 911 that says, always keep the customer first, always keep the citizen first, and you'll never get in trouble. If you keep that in your mind, you'll never get in trouble. Well, Dave put that to a test one day, and this is not too long ago. We had a citizen that called in about something being thrown, some sort of white chemical substance being thrown on his car, and he wanted to make a criminal mischief report. And it was getting late in the shift, and the gentleman was getting impatient, calling back several times, and Dave just didn't have anybody to send, and he looked down there and had some troubles with the shift that day. And it's interesting how 5 minutes prior to the shift, these MDTs just signed themselves off. I don't know what it is with the officers, but somehow most of the officers went out of service, and there was one particular lieutenant that was still signed on as MDT. Well, Dave got another supplement that this was the third time this citizen had called back, and he was highly irate. And Dave just put his foot down and said the citizen comes first, and he called up the lieutenant on the radio and sent the lieutenant on the call, and quietly got up for his break and came into his office and said, "Jimmy, I think I need to let you know about something. I dispatched the lieutenant on a priority 3 report call, possibly some paperwork involved." And I said, "Okay, Dave, I appreciate it. What were the circumstances?" And he filled me in on it. And so the lieutenant went out and took the report, and later called me up on the phone, and I caught a little bit of an earful of why he went out there. But, I just had to weigh the problem, and Dave was right. He was putting the citizen first, so I couldn't wrong him for that. But it just so happens that the chemical that was spilled on this gentleman's car when the lieutenant got out there was somebody driving by and threw their milk out the window and went on the car. So we tied up the lieutenant for a good 45 minutes to an hour while he was out there trying to explain to this person this was not a chemical, but this was milk on his car, and it would not hurt his car. He ended up having to wash his car down for him and everything. Anyway, it was pretty interesting. I thank you, Dave, for all that you've taught, because I felt like I've been a student of yours. You can always learn something from watching the man. He's always going up here. He's always thinking about what he's doing. I think Gwen, in one of the going away letters, said, "Dave, I'll always remember how you knew the city and how well you knew it, and I'll honor that as a dispatcher." And I think all of us feel that way. And as you and your lovely wife are out in your mobile home after you get retired and heading down that thin line highway watching the tumbleweeds chase the sky, don't think about us, but I'm sure we'll often think about you. So we appreciate it and give you a hand. Amy has a gift for you from all of Dispatch Services and several other people who pitched in to buy you this, and she's going to present it to you here for you.
You bought your convection oven too early. We're going to buy it for you. So we have a little Christmas tree for your motorhome, and you can go out and buy something else with it.
Thank you.
Wait, I got a card here.
And you're welcome to come up and say a few words if you like, or
Dave's going to hang this in his motorhome. I'm retired. Don't ask me to do a darn thing. And we have a picture so you can remember what you look like. And your card, and it's got paper in it because we ran out of room, so you'll have to read it later.
Thank you.
you want to take that forward?
You want to hold it for me, Jimmy?
Yes, it's your turn.
Well, before Dave does anything, stepping too bad. But I don't think he bought one of these, and I just want to make sure that he gets one of these. This is our police commemorative book that we did. I was the editor. We had several people, numerous people involved in it. Came out real well, and we just wanted to give Dave one to make sure that he did have a copy and could look back at some of his friends that have been with him through the years. I'd like to present that to you, Dave. And one other thing is 18 and a half years ago, I came to work here, and first I was sitting on the switchboard at the old police station, and then they had me training for dispatchers, and you're going to be with Dave. Okay? Well, who's Dave? I don't know. So anyway, I come into the office, and into the dispatch office, and it was a whole lot different than it is now. But we had this console with a microphone, and Dave's teaching me how to dispatch. He's puffing those cigarettes, and I need the oxygen and stuff. And he just, he'll puff away, dispatch somebody, and say a few words that I probably shouldn't say here, but oh, okay, that's how you dispatch, all right. But, Dave was my first training officer, and if you want to call him a training officer, he was. He taught me a lot. He was always there to help me out. dispatching, whatever, when we got into he and I got into a new program where we worked several different positions, including the jail and stuff at that time, and Dave was always there to help out, and I appreciate his friendship and his help. Something I wanted him to be sure and have, and maybe he can take this into his motor home and look back on it, but I wanted to give him the gold microwave. This, I like it. If you get some batteries, you can put some batteries in there. Anyway, turn it to 100 FM, and you can hear your voice on the radio. And you can go something like this, 421, there's an abandoned car in the yard. I'm tired of that. 10-4. And then, of course, at that time, I'd be checking out for lunch, and 10-4, 421. I can't believe that. You ought to see him when he's behind the microphone. But anyway. But Dave, I appreciate everything you've done. I know that a lot of people who have come and gone here that you've trained really appreciate you too. And anytime I go up to dispatch, Dave's there. I don't know what it's going to be like without him, but I appreciate your friendship too. Thank you.
Well, believe it or not, I'm a little bit speechless. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. It was a total surprise. I'd like to say a special thanks to my wife. I'm going to break up, I know I am. Without her, I wouldn't be standing in front of you. Thanks, man. And my family, my co-workers, my friends. I can't thank you enough for coming in and saying goodbye. I'll catch you in the hallway and make it up because I've got another couple of weeks before I leave. I'm due out the 19th. It's going to be my last working day, so I'm sure I'll see you within the building or on the radio. I'd like to thank everybody for coming again, for the gifts, for the fellowship. I'm almost speechless. I have to tell one story. One story. I don't know if Sergeant Spencer is here or not, but I had recently bought a motorhome about 5 years ago, and first day out, I was so proud of that motorhome, and I was telling everybody I'm going to take a trip to Colorado, and we're going to go here and we're going to go there. About 2 days before we were scheduled to go, Spence gets on the radio, and he calls in. He says, "Send me some backup. I'm following a stolen vehicle," and he runs this license plate over the radio to me, and it's total shock. It's the plate off the motorhome. And before I could dispatch units to assist him, two others who were in on it. I'm there, I'll take the back, I'm en route, I'm going to help. And I was just sitting at the console. And the only words that came out of my mouth was, "Are you serious?" So, that was one time where I was really lost on the radio. I just had to tell that story. I don't think I'll ever forget that. But my co-workers, my bosses, everybody, thanks so much for coming. And I'm going to close it out. Thanks, family.